What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers blow out the Cleveland Cavaliers, winning 129 to 110. The Blazers took care of business tonight, played a full, complete game, and really made this just one of their best wins of the season. This game was a game where pretty much the entire second half you could put your feet up, relax, and not have to worry. And those wins are nice, you know. After an exciting win over a good team last night, the Blazers beat a team that they should have beaten. And not only did they beat them, they beat them handily. So, honestly, not a whole lot to complain about. A lot of positive things in this game. We'll touch on everything like we always do. Welcome in. Hope your guys' nights are going good. Hope you guys are enjoying the snow if you're in the Portland area. It's been crazy. Good old snow game win here. Shoot, man. Eric, what do you want to start off with? All right, like I don't even know where to go with this because there's nothing that really like stood out like as one thing we did right. We did a bunch right. So what do you want to start off with?
The biggest thing for me is not to have a letdown in this game. They came out, took care of business, blew a team out, got Dame to rest the whole fourth quarter in a back-to-back. We didn't have to put him back in and try to win the game at the end. Took care of business, and this is what we've been wanting from this team. The Cavaliers suck.
Yeah.
They're terrible. So, beat their butts. Come out and take care of business and don't let them even have a chance to win this game. And they did that tonight, and that's definitely a positive. These are the type of games that earlier in this year and last year, you know, we might have let a team hang around too long and then mess up at the end and let them steal a game from us. But tonight we didn't have that letdown. We just kept that lead right around 20 points most of the second half. And just a nice team win. And also, you don't need Dame to score 40. You can see tonight he scores 20 points. We have a balanced scoring attack, and I think that really helps. We're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
So, yeah, well, welcome to the lag. We haven't had lag in a long time, so I don't even want to hear anybody complain. It's so much better than it used to be. But yeah, little lag spike there. Jumping back to what I was asking, Eric, where do you think they what do you think they excelled with the most? Where do you think they really shined tonight?
Well, you got to start with the defense. I mean, obviously, they played the garbage players at the end. It wasn't really indicative on how the rest of the game went, but I felt like the defense was pretty good. It's hard for me to tell because lately we played teams like Cleveland, Orlando. Philadelphia is in the bottom half in terms of 3-point shooting. Are we lagging again?
Yeah.
Crap. Oh, there we are. So we played on this homestand. All three teams were in the lower half. I think Philadelphia is around 16 to 18 in 3-point shooting percentage. Both Cleveland and Orlando are towards the back half of the league. So it's hard for me to tell if it's something different we're necessarily doing or these teams just suck at shooting the three, so it's easier to defend them. It does seem like our rotations are a little crisper. It feels like players are a little more locked in and not losing focus on the back ends of plays, and there's less often where we have a person just completely fall asleep, and that breaks down the complete defense. So if we start fixing some of those, it's not that difficult to go from a really bad defense to an average defense if you just cut out some of those plays within a game. So I'd like to see it against a good shooting 3-point team, but the last one I can remember us playing is Milwaukee, and they torched us, but they're also a really good offensive team that torches a lot of teams. So I don't know if it was necessarily something we did wrong in that game or they were just on fire, but I feel like we're doing a little bit better with our rotations and not falling asleep.
Yeah, I mean, and I told you guys, these are fixable issues. The Blazers were committing so many fixable issues early on the season defensively, right? And I was criticizing Terry Stotts because the team wasn't really showing any improvement. And what was I saying? I was saying these issues should be showing signs of improvement, like from the get-go, right? So that was one of my criticisms. Now you have the team finally showing some consistent improvement on some of the flaws that they were exhibiting earlier this season. And now you have games like this, and we were giving up great shooting nights to bad three-point shooting teams, right? But you look at the two Philadelphia games, what we held them from the three-point line. You look at this game tonight, they shoot 8 for 23, 35%. That's like around league average, but that seems really, really good for our defense. You know what I mean? Normally, if it's like a team shooting, upper 30s, they're making 18, right? So not only are we limiting teams to less three-point shots, we're limiting to them to a lower percentage, and that's like the main improvement of our defense. You have some people out here saying, see, they just need more time to gel, blah, blah, blah. None of those issues are based on players gelling more. Those issues are based on individuals cleaning up their individual mistakes. And we should have probably seen this improvement earlier this season, but I'm glad we're seeing it right now. I was worried, like, are we ever going to fix these issues? I'm seeing steady improvement, and it has me encouraged. That's a positive. You do have some people out here saying, see, you guys were wrong for criticizing Stotts on that, and I don't think we were. I think it shows that we were right. This team should be improving these issues. Now they finally are, so now it's not criticism. This is what should be happening. We are... The past few games, I feel like we are finally doing what we should be doing, right? We're not really having to make many defensive adjustments, so there's other things I'm still looking out for. We play a Philadelphia team, which you can go under screens on Ben Simmons. You can drop the big. They don't really exploit that well. This Cleveland team is just a really bad roster. It's kind of crazy that they're even 10-17, to be honest. But yeah, so it's like we haven't necessarily faced teams that do a really good job of exploiting the weaknesses we do have, but we were just having terrible defensive performances against anyone. So now it's encouraging that we're locking up, Cleveland from the three-point line, and they made a lot of shots there in the fourth in garbage time. They had 33 points in the fourth. A lot of that was garbage time. Every quarter before that, we held them under 30 points. There was a stretch there where I feel like 2-3 games in a row we gave up 40-point quarters. So you're seeing improvement, and it's encouraging.
Well, through 3 quarters, we held them to 77, and we gave up 79 in the first half to Milwaukee.
Exactly.
I was talking about. So yeah.
2 completely different levels of teams, but I feel like the improvement is obvious, and this is what we were waiting for. This is what we wanted to see. This is what we needed to see. So I'm happy. I'm happy with it. I'm happy that we're finally guarding the 3-point line, because it's been over a year and a half since we actually have.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this game on Sunday is intriguing because Luka is such a dynamic ball handler that it'll be interesting to see how we defend him, and if this defense is truly better, if we have ways to maybe take him out of the game or at least limit some of his abilities. And then also they're another team that is, I believe they're second to last in 3-point percentage. I know they had a good night tonight shooting the ball, but they have guys like Maxi Kleber and Porzingis as their bigs, and they can really stretch Cantor out and make him have to work, whereas teams like we played tonight with Drummond isn't really going to score outside of the paint. So, a little easier to defend and drop the big when you don't have to worry about the pick and pop.
That'll be a litmus test for sure. We will look ahead to that game a little bit later. But just the main way I'd summarize the defensive improvement is guys are in better help side position. It's a bunch of little things, right? Guys aren't necessarily over helping as much. Guys are rotating out faster or recovering to their guys faster. Guys are closing out better. Guys are closing the gap to contest shots a little bit better. It's just a bunch of little things like that add up, right? If you fix one of those things, it's probably not going to make a huge difference. But when you fix a bunch of little things, it adds up. And I think that's kind of the difference, right? And it's not any one thing more than the other. It's a bunch of little things, executional mistakes that, aren't personnel driven, because nothing is physically making somebody, overhelp or underhelp or be out of position or not rotate out correctly, right? It's like mental mistakes. So we've seen improvement in that regard. I think that's probably the easiest way to summarize it.
Yeah, and two, also, I mean, Little barely played until he got in the second half, but I mean, the game was already out of control. Same with CJ Ellaby. But you see these guys who come in and play some decent defense, and that might in turn push. I don't have faith that Stotts will actually, bench or limit minutes of some of his key guys. But it does cause a little bit of thing like, oh, I got to watch my back a little bit. I can't make these mistakes because we got these young guys who are just itching to play, and every time they come in the game, they're showing something, and like so I got to be careful. If I mess up too much, it might come to a point where I might lose some minutes or some touches or something like that. So I think that's been good for this team too, to have a little bit of healthy competition. And props to the young guys for being ready and keeping us afloat during the stretch when we were missing a bunch of guys. And it was nice to only have the three guys who are out for extended time out tonight, and not anyone with like little injuries until Hood got injured in the game. But yeah, so. I think the depth is helping too, because some of those guys, whereas early in the season, CJ Ellaby, Nasir Little probably aren't going to play. I know Nasir was coming back from COVID and all that stuff, so he wasn't necessarily ready to play. But like some of those guys weren't in the rotation, so even if you had a bad game, you weren't worried about that guy taking minutes. But all of a sudden, CJ Ellaby comes in and shows some defensive spunk and is looking a lot more comfortable out there. And that kind of pushes other players to be a little bit more focused throughout the game. And that's just such a simple thing. But we've seen this team just absolutely melt down with their focus level in certain games. And if they can just fix that, I think there's a much higher ceiling for this team.
Yep. Shout out near 012, $5 dono. He says, it feels like our defense isn't turning our backs on shooters to watch the ball anymore, but we'll see if it will last. I agree with that. It's, and that's what I was trying to point out, right? And you have all these people that say, well, they don't have good defensive personnel. The defensive personnel, so yada, yada, yada. It's like there's difference, and there's different types of mistakes. There's mistakes that may be due to somebody being slow laterally, like a Carmelo Anthony. And there's mistakes that are fixable and are mental mistakes or team mistakes or guys not being on the same page. We're cleaning up those fixable mistakes. This team can be a borderline, when healthy, when Nurkic is back and whatnot, this team can be in the 10 to 15 range defensively in my position if it cleans up those simple mistakes. Now, what could potentially get them, 8th, 9th, 10th is if, we run we're more unpredictable with our defense, run different schemes, run the right schemes at the right time. That could raise our ceiling even more. Hopefully that'll come as we improve, and maybe Stotts will then, once we continue to show the improvement we've seen, maybe then he'll be more comfortable throwing more at the guys. I don't know. But that is the key for us defensively. I don't think we should be a bottom 10 defense. We played like a bottom 10 defense, but during the stretch, not only are we playing good basketball offensively, considering we're missing Nurkic and CJ, our second and third scorers, we're also doing it on the defensive end. So it's a two. That's the thing. It's coming on both sides of the ball. So that's how you're able to beat a team like Philadelphia, who's the best team in the East, has the best record in the East. That's how you're able to just completely handle a Cleveland Cavalier team and almost get up by 30, and Dame only has to play 30 minutes. It doesn't even have to do much, and you still blow them out.
Yep. It kind of... The frustrating part is, like you said, we should have seen some of these things early in the season, in my opinion. They talked about needing to be better at these things, be accountable on the defensive end, have that effort level, take care of business early in the season. And this goes back to before the injuries. They weren't doing those things. So I'm glad something sparked with them recently. But, the frustrating part is that, they could have just been doing this from the beginning of the season, and things would have been... I mean, we're fine overall results-wise, but I'm just saying from a point of we could have been playing like this earlier in the season.
Yeah, or maybe not necessarily playing like this, but we could have improved faster than this, is how I'd put it. Like, there was just a stretch where we didn't show any improvement, and now, like, during the past 5-6 games, we've showed a great deal of improvement. You know what I mean? I wish, we had improved since the start of the season. Might have won a couple more games, probably don't lose to the Chicago Bulls at home after blowing a 20-point lead. Like, this team, the way they played tonight, would not have lost to that Bulls team at home. Mm-hmm. And that Bulls team, in that Bulls game, we had Nurkic and we had CJ, right? So we had our full complement of players, but the style of play wasn't right. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the balanced scoring, but if we switch over to that end, I still think this offense is still too easy to stop against elite defensive teams and relies heavily on people to have insane scoring outbursts to be successful when it comes to the playoffs or against like really good teams. But as long as they keep winning games when they need to win these games, 3-0 road trip, I'm not going to complain about that.
Home trip. 3-0 home trip.
Yeah, home trip.
Yeah.
Homestand.
Yeah, if it was a road trip, we would be championship ready because you're only supposed to go 500 on the road. So, but yeah, I mean, going into this homestand, I was saying, okay, I expect this team to go 2-1. I hope they go 3-0. I think they have a chance to go 3-0. I think they have enough talent to go 3-0 if they play the right style of basketball, if they do the right things. But, given this team, I expect them to go 2-1. You got an easy Orlando game, easy Cleveland game, hard Philadelphia game. Well, they go 3-0. They're now 15-10. Considering the situation, like when Nurkic and CJ goes down, and it just, at that point, the season felt like last year. It was like, oh, this is going to be another one of those seasons like last year. We're screwed, right? But I think, like, we were 9-15 last year. At some point, I don't know if we ended up 9-16 or 10-15 or whatever, but we're far ahead of that pace. We're 15-10. You know what I mean? So being 15-10, given the couple of injuries and we've had other guys nicked up, and and honestly, it's not like I wouldn't say Stotts has done a really good job or anything. Despite all of that, to be 15-10, I'll take that for sure.
We were 9-15, 10-16, and then we won 4 in a row.
Yeah,
but then we lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, it was like we're constantly trying to claw back to 500 that whole entire season.
That's one of the things. Okay, so we talked about playing a good game and then not bringing that same intensity the next game and losing a game. So like this game would be an example of that in previous year or last year and earlier this year. But like now it's like you're 15-10. Don't let up. Like keep getting better. Keep focused. Don't all of a sudden like lose 2 out of 3 and be like 16-12 and then we have several games. I think we only have 1 road game left until the All-Star break, or over the next 7 games at least. So like just don't get complacent and be like, oh, we're 15-10 now, we're fine, we're getting our guys back soon, like we can coast a little bit. Like no, like I'm not happy with that. Like if you're a player, you want to be like 18-10 or like 20-10. Like just keep this going. You don't necessarily have to win every game, but don't go through a stretch where you lose 3 or 4 in a row, especially to teams that you shouldn't lose to. Muted? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted because I was typing. There is your muted. There is your muted talk for the day. We got the little bit of lag and we got the little bit of muted. I was spitting facts though. I don't even remember what I was saying. I'm making the player graphics right now, so I know my typing can be annoying. But as I was saying, As I was saying, I don't even remember what I was saying. What was I saying, Eric? What was I talking about?
Talking about not letting up.
Oh, yeah. You cannot let, this good home trip affect your future games. As an athlete, you got to go into each game as locked in as possible. And take things one game at a time. And be as prepared as you possibly can. You cannot let, a successful 3-game homestand get you complacent to the point where you're not going into this next game against the Mavericks on Sunday. You can't go into that game not fully locked in. Mm-hmm. They're humans and teams do this. A lot of teams do this, so it's bound to happen. But you got to really make an effort to not let success, not be satisfied with a 3-game homestand and let that satisfaction lead to you not being hungry the next game, so to say.
Yep, completely agree. Shout out to JM for the $2 donation. Says, thoughts on Stotts Coach of the Year?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate the dono. No.
He's going to get some love for that award if we are our home court advantage team or 4th or 5th seed with all the injuries we have. He'll get some credit for that from the national.
You know what's funny, and I want you to talk on this. Oh, while I continue to make these graphics, I'll lead it off. It's funny seeing people try and say that the Stotts criticism early in the season is wrong because of how the team is playing right now. You know what I mean? It's so funny to me because we were criticizing the coaching because of the way the team was playing. The coaching improving and the team improving the way it's playing doesn't make our criticism illegitimate at all. Because it wasn't based on how the team is playing now. It was based on how the team was playing before, which was completely differently. It was completely different, right? And you had a lot of people back then saying, well, this roster is just incapable. They have injuries. What are they supposed to do? Stotts can't do anything, right? But then all of a sudden the team improves and starts playing how we say they should be playing, and now it's, oh, well, Stotts is a great coach. Well, I thought he couldn't do anything, and I thought this team was incapable. I thought this roster sucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? I thought there was nothing he could do. I thought, we were saying at the time, this team, if it plays the right style of basketball, could still be a good team. And now the team is playing the right style of basketball for the most part, and they're playing like a good team. And it's like, people that argued that before are now trying to tell us we were wrong. You know what I mean? When this literally, I feel like honestly, the way the team is playing right now validates our criticism before.
And I mean, the same people are like, oh, Fire Stotts crowd is really quiet right now. Those are the same people who said 2 weeks ago, like, any win from here on out is a gift because this team just doesn't have the personnel to win games anymore with the injuries and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, don't try to act like you're doing that. And actually, so Reese shared this earlier. The per 100 possessions, the best, the 2 most impactful players on this team right now are Derrick Jones Jr. and Robert Covington. Robert Covington is number 1. And those guys are having a huge impact on winning games and stuff like that. And everyone turned on them when we lost CJ and all that kind of stuff. Or not everyone, but, the people who want to just bash the personnel all the time. And those guys are absolutely making a difference. And you can make up for bad coaching by having decent enough personnel. That is something that is happening. But the opposite also needs to be true. Like the coach needs to improve his personnel. He can't just get by on whatever his personnel does is how he wins games. That's not coaching. So this is what we've been wanting for him to do, is to actually coach the team. So it's not like he's doing anything special in my mind. He's just actually I'm trying to come up with some things. But like I said earlier, and Jeannot Reeves asked about this in the chat as well, like, do you see much different scheme-wise other than them being a little crisper and more focused and stuff like that?
No, I'm not noticing something scheme-wise, and that's why I said at the start, we haven't really played a team that exploits our base defensive scheme in the past 5 or 6 games. So I'm kind of waiting for that. Luka is really good at playing against a sagging big, so it'll be interesting to see how we defend the pick and roll against him. But it's good to see all the little things improve, but now it's okay, we need to continue to improve those things and now start to become a little bit more unpredictable, and that's going to take us to even a higher level, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they did try trapping a little bit. I didn't think we needed to trap at some of the times they trapped, and that's going to be the next step. Is when you trap, you have to trap right, and you have to do it effectively, and you have to bail out if it's not there, and not just do it no matter what, because that's what coach called or whatever. So they have to learn when the right time to do it and when the wrong time to do it is. Against a team like Cleveland, I don't know if they necessarily needed to trap very much tonight.
Yeah, but it's good to work on it in a game you have in hand, So I like.
But it didn't really look good the times they did trap. So I can't really say that they're playing better defense because they're trapping more, pressuring more, because those aspects haven't looked great when they've done it. It's just nice to see them doing on and working on it, like you said.
Yeah, just here's the thing. Okay, all these little things that they're cleaning up right now. All right, imagine they do that and continue to do that and improve a little bit more. And then imagine if they start executing multiple defensive schemes correctly. This would be at least an average defense, possibly top 10, right? It's literally that simple to me. That was my 2 biggest complaints, and pretty much my only 2 complaints in regards to coaching with the defense is A, we're struggling with all these little fixable mistakes and not showing improvement, and then B, we don't situationally defend, we don't execute anything other than a drop scheme well, we barely switch anything up, we don't know when to run different schemes at the right times, that type of thing, right? And those are very legitimate criticisms, and that's what we've seen in the past. If Stotts all of a sudden gets the team to fix all these little mistakes, and then he gets them executing multiple defenses well, and he's running the right defensive schemes, I'm not going to be criticizing Stotts for the defense at all. It's literally that simple. And everybody will say, see, man, Stotts hater is wrong. No, we were right. We were right. We were right before. And it's literally just dependent on that. If he doesn't do those things, we'll criticize him. If he does do those things, we'll praise him. It's that simple. And if we do those things, we'll be a good defensive team, in my opinion. Without doing those things, we're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. That's the equation. That's how it is for me.
And so Blockboy is saying that effort isn't coach based, and that we're not doing anything different defensively or scheme wise. We're just showing more effort, and that's why we're playing.
So
better.
You think the team just was purposely deciding not to try all the time earlier this season?
And that's reflective on the coach. But anyways, so I don't necessarily agree with that, because look at last game. Melo hit 6 shots in a row, right, in the 4th quarter, and we go from down 5 to up 4, whatever, in that stretch, and we end up holding on to beat Philadelphia. But that didn't have anything to do with playing good defense. We just had one of our good scorers get hot. So that's not necessarily anything we're doing differently. And all these guys are capable of scoring and doing stuff. But I don't know. I just, especially offensively, I haven't noticed enough of a difference to make me think that we're going to fix things when it really matters. And this has been our problem even dating back to before Melo was on our team. We don't have the right offense to win in the playoffs when they take away Dame and double team him. We just keep going to the pick and roll or ISOing and doing stuff like that. And occasionally CJ can have a good game and win us a game, but that's not really the recipe for how to win in the playoffs or beat a good team. So we need a little bit more ways to get these guys easier shots every once in a while. And we don't have that. Between player movement and ball movement, those are both things that we are very, very bad at. And until those things improve, I'm not going to – obviously I'm happy we're winning. And, yes, it's cool to watch Melo or Dame or CJ when he's healthy go off and have a big game. But, those are things that we shouldn't have to rely on. Like, this is a perfect example, this game, where this scoring is so spread out that we have such a good we have like several options, so it's not like they can just take away Dame and we can do that. But like the problem is we've seen this play before, like where we have a great offense during the regular season, our defense is just good enough, and then we get in the playoffs and we don't change any of it. We don't run a different defensive scheme, so we don't really know how to switch it up when we have to in the playoffs. And then we just rely too much on Dame to make tough shots, and then when he gets double teamed, he can't necessarily do that every game. And then if he has a couple of bad games, all of a sudden we lose a series 4-0 or 4-1, and we're out of the playoffs. And until we see, it's not about just changing the scheme and doing something different. It's about having the ability to play differently against different teams and having specific game plans for each team you play. And it's encouraging these last 3 games that we've taken care of business and seemingly have executed well. I just worry about when our shots aren't falling or we're not having good scoring games from our main guys, what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the narrative of, like, if we win, who cares how it happens? If you care how it, like, that's the thing. If you continue to focus on areas you can improve in, despite winning a game by 20, if you just, like, take this game and, like, this team didn't play a perfect game, right? It's rare that you play a perfect game, as if that's even possible, right? So you can look at areas of this game, 14 turnovers. We turned over the ball 14 times. That's not good, Portlandia. We should probably try and improve that because you hate turnovers, and, turnovers definitely aren't good. If you focus on things you can improve from game in, game out, no matter the result, then you're prioritizing those things, and that's going to help you become the best team possible in the end, right? Because we got, if we do everything right, I think this team can contend, right? This team can be a borderline top 10 defense if we're not making silly mistakes, if we're mentally locked in, executing different things, and then if we switch up schemes and whatnot, and it schematically is coached the right way. And then offensively, we have a lot of guys that can go and create their own shots and get shots off and have big nights. But then if we run team offense on top of that well, move the ball well, get shots that way, we're only going to get better shots. That's what it'll help us do. We'll get better shots. And that'll make this team so impossible to defend. Because you got all these guys that can create their own shots, but then also they function as a team and move the ball well. How do you defend up against that? You can't. Even in the playoffs, if this team moves the ball well, one-on-one doesn't work as much in the playoffs. I think part of the reason is the refs let individual defenders play more physical. So on-ball defenders can get more physical with guys, so it's a little bit harder to go one-on-one against people. But that doesn't translate to defending against ball movement or whatnot. So yeah, it's like, that's what I want to see out of this team, because I think this team can contend if they learn how to move the ball and move players and get guys in better positions individually, offensively, get guys better shots. Dame doesn't have to try and go against a trap all the time in the playoffs. He's able to be ran off the ball. He's able to get good shots off of ball movement, all that, and then all the things I said defensively. This team could contend. Mm-hmm. This team would be up there with Utah, right? You look at what Utah's doing this year. They're 20-5. I don't know if they played tonight, but they were 20-5 last I checked.
They killed the Bucks, or at least they were killing the Bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks. They
beat them by 14. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're 21-5. I see what Utah's doing. I don't think they got a better roster. They just execute everything very, very well. They have been healthier, but they execute things really, really well, and they don't make silly mistakes. And I look at them, it's like, I think this roster could be as good, and this team could be as good as they are, right? And they're ahead of the Lakers right now. I think this team could beat the Lakers in a series if it did all the little things right and played the right style of basketball. So that's why I'm hard, and I hold the team to that standard because I want to see this team win a championship. Let me shout out Donos. Near Zero 12 with the $20. Appreciate it, bro. He says, if Stotts was a great coach, wouldn't he be able to make an adjustment in the playoffs? In the Western Conference Finals, we lead in all 4 games. LOL, Myers Leonard scored 30-plus in a game, and Stotts still couldn't pull one out. Not a coach of the year. I mean, yeah, he needs to do a better job adjusting. And the playoffs are a game of adjustments. You don't really see, like, a coach that doesn't adjust well. It doesn't really hurt you in the regular season, but it hurts you bad in the playoffs. Because you're playing the same team 7 games in a row. It's like a completely different situation for a head coach, right? After game 1, the losing team is likely making adjustments. to give themselves a better chance to win game 2, and that if they win game 2, you got to answer back and you got to see what went wrong and you got to adjust and you got to coach. So you got to be able to make adjustments well in the playoffs. That's been one of my biggest critiques. We're not going to see that affect anything in the regular season, really. Maybe within one game, but it's not going to be as impactful as a 7-game series. So that is something that we'll have to wait and see on. We'll have to wait until the playoffs. Shout out JM, $5 dono. He says, according to Portlandia, D doesn't matter because we score so much due to our pace, even though we're only ranked 15th to 18th in that, depending on metric. Yeah, I don't understand the argument either, JM. Appreciate the $5 dono. And then you got Dro, $2 dono, says, move the ball. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And this isn't even a complaint because I thought overall we moved the ball okay this game. It was mostly guys getting hot and scoring, but like the thing is, when guys are hot against a bad team, like I'm fine with that in the regular season. It's just once playoffs roll around and we play a defense that's not going to let guys go off individually and have a game plan for certain guys individually. Like for example, when teams trap Dame, you got to be able to fall back on something more team oriented to counter that. So that is something that I'm still hoping to see more of because I still think this team can do a better job of that. And here's the thing, right? It's like it might not, we win this game by 19, but I want to see them try to work on it more because it will only make them better at doing that once the playoffs roll around. And that's what I care about. This team being the best it can possibly be once the playoffs roll around. Because, as I said, I think this team can contend, so I want them to take all the necessary steps, and there's a bunch. There's a bunch of little things, and there's a bunch that, needs to happen for this team to contend. It's not the Los Angeles Lakers. But I'm going to focus on all those tiny steps, despite the results, because it's a process-based thing, right? It's a process-based thing that goes beyond just, blowing the doors off the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And here's the thing. If we're playing this way without CJ and Nurk, so one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to come back and propel this team to even better position and make it like even tougher to guard us and even better defensively, or they're going to stick out like a sore thumb if they're continuing their bad habits and not keeping up with some of these other guys. And then you start to wonder, well, maybe Trent should be playing a little more than CJ, stuff like that. So it's kind of good that we're showing this without those two guys because our ceiling is much higher if we have those two guys playing while making all these adjustments and doing the things and playing the right way. So I think it's good that they're sitting here watching this team have success and maybe seeing that this, when they come back in, to not just need, like CJ doesn't need to like ISO 20 times a game, which he was doing to his credit earlier in the season. He was averaging like 5 assists a game when he got hurt. So like he wasn't being quite as bad as he was in previous years. Yeah, it's just hopefully when we get those guys back, it'll be improving the team and they'll build upon these things. Because to your point too about the being able to switch defenses. So what happened in the Western Conference Finals is we ran a drop scheme the entire season. That's all we did was run drop scheme, except for one random game against Houston earlier in the season for some reason. But like the first game against Golden State, did we do anything different? No, we dropped the big, and Steph Curry like kills us, and because he's like one of the best shooters of all time, and that's like the dumbest thing ever to drop the big against him on a pick. And
you had the NBA universe giving Stotts hell after that game for doing that.
And then, so what happens? We actually do try to like trap him or like don't drop the big the next game, but these guys hadn't done it the entire season, and then all of a sudden in the Western Conference Finals versus one of the best players of all time, you expect them to be even adequate enough to slow Steph Curry down. That's not going to happen. So like, that's what. Yeah, go ahead.
And here's the thing: it was still better than what they were doing before,
right? Yeah,
but it should have been better if they had done that throughout the season. They would have won at least a couple of those games. That would have been a series because they would have executed it better. And a lot of those games were close, and it came down to the Blazers not knowing how to execute that, a different defensive scheme all that well because they didn't have the experience running it all season long.
Yep, completely agree. And that's why we beg it so much to like just have different game plans every game. Don't go into each game with the same game plan. Like, do something different. And like, even if it doesn't work, at least you can go back. Hey, remember when we tried this in the Philly game or whatever? This is what worked well with that. So let's do this in that situation next time. This is what didn't work, why it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that isn't always addressed.
I will say this, though. They were making so many basic defensive mistakes that my concern and priority moved from let's be unpredictable schematically on the defensive end to we got to fix all these basic mistakes. Because these mistakes were going to screw us over no matter what scheme we were running. And it was like the foundation of our defense was just was crap. It was bad because of all the basic mental silly mistakes we were making. And it was like on things that we'd have to do no matter what scheme we're running, right? You have to rotate, you have to close out well, you have to know how to position yourself off the ball, all that sort of stuff. You have to know how to do that if you're trapping, if you're running a zone, if you're playing, drop scheme, if you're hedging, all that type of stuff. You have to know how to do that stuff. So it became, okay, we need to fix these issues, right? And we're seeing improvement with that, which is why our defense is improving, which is nice to see. At some point, it will become, okay, well, now that we've improved these things, we need to get good at executing more than one defensive scheme. Because right now, like, we don't really know how to execute a trap all that well. We don't really know how to execute much outside of kind of our base scheme. So that's the next step in the evolution of this defense.
And Peace and Love says, we just won 3 in a row and are 5 games over 500, and you guys want to focus on a Western Conference Finals loss to Golden State.
We're focusing on how this team can be the best team possible. That's exactly what we're focusing on, and we're bringing that up as an example for something we can learn from in the past. So it's not a negative thing.
If you want to be happy with being 15-10, but then 2 months from now being like, oh man, I wish we would have tried something different, or I wish we would have adjusted. And oh, remember back when we won those 3 games at home? Like, we're past that with this team. Dame is on the wrong side of 30 now. Like, he's not getting any younger. We need to make moves like now. We need to like stop this crap now. And yes, this is great that we're playing this way, but we continue to play in a way that's not necessarily conducive to winning a championship. And if you don't want a championship, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to blame anyone for being happy with watching regular season wins. That's totally cool. I'm just as happy with regular season wins. I just don't want this team to waste another opportunity to possibly contend for a title, like Tori says, just because they just refuse to change anything and refuse to acknowledge that the problem is necessarily the offense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear like, oh, well, Stotts is an offensive genius. You can't blame the offense at all. Yes, I can blame the offense because the offense is usually crap in the playoffs and is too reliant on people to make tough shots. And until they do that, until they change the style of play so they can do that, it's not going to be something that I'm going to be happy about just winning a game over one of the worst teams in the league.
Well, here's how I'd say it, right? First off, I don't get why constructive criticism is a bad thing. Or, like, it's not even necessarily criticism. I'm literally sitting here saying, like, they're improving what they need to improve. The next step is going to be trying to execute different schemes. That's not a negative. How's that negative? How in the world is that like negative? People try and portray that as a negative thing. I'm saying I'm just laying out the steps of how this team can contend, laying out the steps this team needs to take, right? Like, we're not championship caliber right now, right? Like, just because we beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 129-110 doesn't mean we're championship caliber right now. But there's like two different sides, right? One side is like, man, this game was fun to watch. I really enjoyed this. Guys went off. We'll talk about the individuals in a bit, and like the banner stuff. The fan, yeah. The what?
The banner stuff, by the way, people have been talking.
Oh, is it? Has it been this whole time?
It's been on Simon's for a while, but.
Oh, it's on manual. Oh, weird. Sorry. Thanks for pointing that out.
Okay.
I was surprised nobody caught that until now.
Oh, no, people were saying it. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Cool. But yeah, like laying out the steps isn't a negative thing. I'm just laying out the steps this team needs to take, and I'm going to focus on like their progress towards those steps. And, their progress towards those steps isn't 100% indicative of, it's not perfectly correlated to them necessarily beating the Cleveland Cavaliers by 19 points, right? So that we're focusing on their progress towards those steps. the steps they need to take to become a contender. I don't think that's a negative thing at all. I think that's focusing on how this team can be as good as possible. I think that's a positive thing. If you see that as a negative thing, that's fine. I just disagree on the type of discourse that I think is negative or positive. But beyond that, there's two types of fans. One type who, yeah, I'm happy about a regular season win. I really enjoyed this game. A lot of good individual performances that we'll get into, and fun. This was a fun game to watch. And then there's a part of me like, I want this team to win a damn championship. So this team needs to still get better at certain things, right? So it's hard to like balance those two things, right? And talk to you guys. You have a lot of guys out there. Like, I feel like almost all media is just focused on the type of fan that's, oh, this was a fun game. Guys played well. We could relax, Melo had 20-plus points, and he's been playing, and other guys had good games and yada, yada, which is fine. But, like, I feel like every other type of media is 100% that, where we try and balance both of them, right? We try and balance being happy and talking about a regular season win, and what does this team need to do to win a championship, all right? This team needs to move the ball better. We didn't really see much improvement in that tonight, despite the fact that this was an amazing game. So and some people see that, us trying to split the difference and say, how are you guys being negative? We won the game, and they're on one side, and they view the game just based on, yay, we won a regular season game, right? And they're not focused on, oh, how can this team win a championship, right? So that's kind of the disconnect with some people for us. It is what it is. And
like Portlandia thinks we're an elite team. He's said time and time again we're a top 5 team when we're healthy or whatever. But like the Orlando Magic were just as injured as us. They absolutely sucked. We should beat the Orlando Magic at home. Same with this Cavaliers team. They're not good. Like, we should win this game. Like, there should have been no reason why we'd even let them hang around or play in this game. So I'm glad we didn't do that.
Problem was we weren't really taking care of business earlier this year and last year. We weren't taking care of these games. So it's better. But
so I'm glad we're doing what we're supposed to do now.
Yeah.
But now it's just a matter on, don't get happy that you beat the Cavs and the Magic in 2 out of the 3 games. Like, yes, you can be glad you're winning and stuff like that, but like, don't let up. That's all we're trying to say.
100%. Shout out PS3 Nintendo $2 dono. He says, Tori, pancakes for everyone. Enjoy some pancakes. Nintendo loves pancakes. Shout out JM $5 dono. He says, 2021 prediction. Blazers Uprise becomes epicenter of a Ringer NBA article revealing Portlandia as a Stotts burner account. He is immediately fired. Man, yeah, that's I want to live in that alternate universe. Because if you guys believe in alternate universes or whatever, where like everything that is possible happens, I want to be in that alternate universe, man. That would be hysterical.
You think instead of if that was Stotts Burger, instead of arguing with us all the time, he'd actually just like try to listen to what we're saying. Maybe better off for it.
Nah, why would he listen to 2 YouTube idiots, man? But I mean, we're not even criticizing with him. I'm not even criticizing him specifically about anything, right? I'm just saying we need to like, we're taking some of the steps we needed to take, but it's just the start of the journey. It's just the start of our journey on where we need to go, right? And I'm keeping the end goal in perspective here. Like, I want a championship. I've never seen any of my teams ever win a championship. San Francisco choked it last year in the Super Bowl. Gonzaga almost won a championship like 3 years ago. Hopefully this is their year, but they lost it in the final couple minutes. I want to know what it feels like to win a championship. So a lot of my analysis is based on, I want this team to win a championship. Imagine the post-game stream after winning the championship, guys. I'll be streaming from like downtown Portland on top of a light pole somewhere, off my phone. That'll be that's what I want.
And one other thing on the coaching. Okay, if Dame doesn't hit 2 threes in 5 seconds, and Melo doesn't have a big fourth quarter against Philadelphia, and countless other times other players have saved us by just going on insanely hot shootings, like, we'd be, around 500 instead of, 15 and 10. So it's those kind of things aren't necessarily coaching. So it's a very fine line between sitting here right now and being like, oh, the coaching is so much better, or just saying like, maybe we're just like having some good games here, and I really hope it's the former, that Stotts is actually improving as a coach. Both of us sat here. Those of you who have watched every stream this year know at the beginning of the season, we actually gave him a little bit of a leash to show us something. He didn't. And so now we feel like it's a little late that he should, but at least he's coming around now. So I'm just happy that we're finally seeing like it translate to winning games, and we're seeing the results. I just don't like to base everything on a record, because it could easily have gone the other way in a few of those games.
There's so much context that goes into the sport, right? There's so much context that it's never as simple as we're 15-10, we're good, or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people want to avoid context that, doesn't fit their opinion. We try and address every single bit of context and base our opinion off that. Shout out.
Let me just
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Shout out Nintendo $2 dono. He says we can't get complacent. Stay the course. Yeah, we gotta keep plugging away. We gotta keep taking steps forward.
So Blockboy says that works both ways, and Sam Stone says, if you don't credit the coaching when players play good, why do you attack the coach when players play bad? So
it's not
here's
that
what
simple.
That's
what I just said.
Here's how I address that. Okay, so Dame hits a step back 37-footer, against OKC. Was that a good play? Absolutely not. That was a terrible idea to shoot that shot and to just like, not have him get a better shot. That's just an extreme example. But like, how many times a game does Dame have to hit a shot coming off a pick, being double teamed, sidestepping someone, or like all these tough shots? So he makes them, yeah. So when he makes them, yeah, that's a good shot or whatever. But like the degree of difficulty that we put all our players in to make shots, we don't do anything on offense to open up shots for people. We don't set picks other than going away from the basket. Like, when was the last time we had a screen that got someone open going towards the basket and we just dropped it off to him for a lane or a dunk? It's always just a random cut or an offensive rebound or something like that, or a Dame or CJ drive creating that offense out of nothing. And so I just don't like to see offenses where we get no easy baskets and we're reliant on our ISO players to make tough ISO shots. Like, give them positions. I've said this about Melo. I've said this about Dame. I've said this about CJ. Like, I've said this about Nurk. Get them the ball just a little closer to the basket, or going to the key, or like Melo coming off a pick and curling right to the 15-foot free throw line where he could just catch and shoot a shot instead of having to like take a one step back fade away 15-footer. Instead, it's a wide open shot. So like, a lot of the times when we win these games, it's based on just a superhuman performance by one of our star players, and I don't necessarily like that we're so reliant on that having to happen.
Yeah, it's like if Dame has to consistently shoot step back, fade away 30-foot shots, right? Like, you're gonna end up like, I'm gonna criticize Stotts for that. We should be able to get better shots than step back, fade away, contested 30-foot shots, right? If Dame makes a bunch of them, that doesn't mean Stotts should get credit. Like, it's that simple. So that's what I mean by there's a lot of context that goes into things that gets ignored, because people will say, well, if you criticize him for, Dame missing a bunch of tough threes, you have to praise him when Dame hits them, When players play bad, you criticize Stotts, so you need to praise them when they play good. No, that's way too oversimplified. Way too oversimplified, and that's not extreme examples. That's an example, but it applies in like less extreme ways. Portlandia, it applies. If it's frustrating, you can leave. Nobody's stopping you. You feel free. But this is yeah.
He mentions the Chicago game where Levine hit a tough shot, but this is exactly my point. We played like absolute crap once we got our 20-point lead and let them back into a game where Zach LaVine can hit a shot, which he is certainly capable of doing. And we're certainly capable of hitting shots the same way Dame did that back to them in Chicago, right? Where we get a lucky jump ball, and actually Gary Trent somehow wins a jump ball against Zach LaVine, who is one of the most athletic players in the NBA, somehow tips it to Rocco. He fumbles it, Dame catches it, hits a tough fadeaway shot over Lauri Markkanen. And that's certainly able to do that. But like my point is, it shouldn't matter if he makes or misses those kind of shots. It matters how we play up and to get to that point. Like we shouldn't like be in those positions to have to need Dame to make those shots. In the OKC game, we were down like 15 with 4 minutes left or something like that, and we had everything have to break our way in order to win that game. And if we don't win that game, who knows what happens the rest of the series, going back to OKC and all that kind of stuff. So like I just wish they would play a style to where they didn't have to rely on that kind of stuff.
Shout out, peace and love. $5 dono. He says, been watching the Blazers since 90s, so I understand the hunger for a championship. Calling for Stotts to be fired midseason is going to get us further away. I disagree on that, but I appreciate the dono, peace and love.
Let me just ask a question.
Yeah.
When was the last time we said to fire Stotts? Did we sit here just screaming that?
I can't remember the last time I said specifically fire Stotts. I mean, I would prefer other coaches to him, but I don't remember the last time I said it. That's actually a good question.
I mean, we're not just sitting here, fire the coach. We're telling you, like, he needs to improve, or we need to bring in, I've mentioned several times, a defensive assistant or someone who can help him, like, get better or something. But yeah, we understand, both of us, that unless we have like a huge meltdown or something drastic happens, Stotts is not going to get fired this season. But if we lose in the first round this year, and it's because we're running the same crap that we always run in the playoffs, and it doesn't work again for like the 5th straight year, he absolutely would deserve to get fired after the season.
I'm talking about on stream, Adam. I mean, I've said it out of frustration maybe once or twice on Twitter all season long. Like, come on. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Didn't really want this post-game show to be negative arguments and whatnot, you know. Yeah. It's
let's talk about the players.
Yeah. I just tie it off with I don't know. I mean, like, it's just this is what we get responding with chat. You know, it's people that want to call us out on criticism every time the team plays well. So that's why it's like what should be a positive post-game show ends up being kind of a debate about certain things where we're defending our criticism, and that's kind of, you know. And then somebody random who watches us occasionally will tune in and say, "Dang, they won by 19. This show seems really negative." You know, it's it kind of I don't know. It's tough. We lagging. Good old snowstorm. Are we lagging? Yeah, we are lagging.
We're back.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah, and so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just whatever. Let's move on and talk about the players. Let's start off with, we're not starting with Dame for once. Let me put this to manual. And let's see here. Okay, cool. We're starting with Gary Trent Jr., who had a terrific game today. He has been on fire. Let me look up his stats for the season. We lagging some more? Or is that just my playback that's messed up? I need to pull it up on my phone.
I think we're okay right now.
Yeah, my playback is like, will glitch out and make it show like I'm lagging. Or my playback on the whatever. I don't know. I'm not gonna explain it. Gary Trent Jr. has been on fire. Shout out PS3 Nintendo $2 donor. He says, Tori, how's yo gel holding up tonight? It's kind of holding up. I need to get new gel. This gel's kind of worn out, in case you can't tell. But Gary Trent Jr. has just been on fire from the three-point line, and he continued that tonight. Going into tonight's game, let me look up what his three-point percentage was. He was shooting 44% from three. That might be up to 45% now, because he was 4 for 6 from three. He also was 4 for 6 inside the arc, so had a beautiful double cross, one-handed double cross on Andre Drummond. Maybe the best ball handling creation sort of play he's had in his entire career. That was impressive. He's had he had another time where he got to the rim, finished the lane as well. So he was doing a good job slashing today. He shot threes well. I think he played better defense today than he has on average this season. So very, very good game from Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, just he continues to show that he is definitely someone that we need to make minutes for. It made no sense earlier in the season. That's another thing. That guy was even being questioned about whether he should be playing or not, or some nights maybe not.
He got 6
minutes. 6 minutes one game is just an absolute disgrace. And then I'm glad Stotts realized quickly that he was deserving of a starting spot while CJ was out. Now it's going to be interesting when CJ comes back. We have to get this guy as many minutes as possible, and he's just such a good floor spacer. He's improving all his other aspects of his game as well, and we just need to find a way to get him some minutes.
Yep, Chiefin's giving me crap saying, "It's a sham, God, casual Tory. Don't insult me, that's your timeout. Behave. Chiefin. I know you're always feisty in here. But I don't know. A sham god. All right, let me just touch on this. All right, a sham god is normally where you push it out with one hand, then bring it back with the other. Right? He did like a quick little double cross.
Yeah, no.
Like it wasn't like what you would typically call a sham god. Right? It was a quick like one-handed double cross instead of him like pushing it out with one hand and reaching across, bringing it back. All right, and the footwork was different. So I mean, some people will probably call it a sham god. It's a little different in my mind. I mean, it's probably debatable. But Chiefin, how are you gonna call a guy who would beat you one-on-one a casual, man? Come on now. Shout out JM, $2 donation. Nice to remember we got GT for Justin James plus a second. Is that one of the second round picks turned into Justin James?
Yeah, I mean, we traded 2 seconds. So
yeah, but like that's great value. Here's the thing. That's my biggest miss call of anything the Blazers have ever done. Because when that happened, I honestly hated it. I was not high on Gary Trent Jr. I was like, he's not going to be a good defender, and I honestly thought he was a little overrated as a shooter. And it's like, why are we drafting 2 guards? He's not big enough to be a small forward, whatever, yada, yada. But, you know, and that was the year we drafted Anthony. So it's like, why would we draft Anthony and Gary Trent Jr.? So I didn't like it at all. Now it's like, that's an A+. Definite 100% A+. Like, could not have asked for a better, you know, drafting. So that's my biggest miscall ever, you know, is not liking that move. But yeah, we got a steal for him. Appreciate the dono, Jam.
Yeah, and obviously he's got the contract situation at the end of this year. But, I mean, you got Anthony also playing fairly well. So I think we're going to have to play Trent at some 3 and maybe limit some of the other players' minutes, because I don't think this is the guy who you should cut minutes from. I mean, maybe not 36 minutes I think he played tonight. Like, he doesn't need that many minutes, but, you know, this guy should be getting upper 20s to 30 minutes a game. And if he's not, I think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I wish he was tall enough to be our starting small forward. He'd be perfect, man. I wish he was 6'7" instead of 6'5", or had longer arms, because he doesn't have a long wingspan either, which hurts him. But shout out Nintendo, another $2. He says, is Festus Ezeli available with dinosaur emojis? That guy just fell off the face of the earth. And then shout out Jam for another $5 dono. He says, Gary Trent Jr. was my classmate at Duke, and I was so hyped when we got him. Yeah, man, I know a lot of people liked it. I was just at the time like, oh, this is such a mistake. I was so wrong. I was so wrong on it. I can admit when I'm wrong. So,
yeah,
rarely.
Because, I mean, obviously he's shown a lot on defense that he was not known for coming into that draft. So that's one thing. We knew he could shoot the ball. His first year, he really struggled shooting, though, and was not good on defense. So you were looking rather correct on that. But credit to Gary, man. He's worked his butt off. I think it was Olshey that said in the offseason that Gary Trent has stayed in Portland the last 2 summers and is basically at the practice facility all day, every day, working on his game. And that absolutely shows in his progress.
Yeah, he was averaging 14.3 points per game going into tonight's game and 29 minutes per game.
And it's around 20, just under 20 as a starter, I think.
So. Yeah, he should continue to get like 29 minutes a game. He should be like a contender for Sixth Man of the Year, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't really do much else statistically, but like he should be getting 15 a game because he's efficient too. Like, he's struggling inside the arc. I expect that to improve, but he's still efficient. His true shooting percentage is 56%, right? So it's like it's a little, like, average to me is like 55%. So it's slightly above average, and that's with him really struggling inside the arc so far this season. But I mean, you look at tonight, he did better. So if he can improve that, he's going to be extremely efficient on top of the defensive potential he has. Just a premier 3-and-D guy, and it's like that's what we've needed in the past. There's been years where we didn't have any of them. Now it's like Roko's struggling with this 3, but he's still, in my opinion, a premier 3-and-D guy. And you got Gary Trent Jr., who has that capability as well. So it's nice to have wings like that.
Yep, absolutely.
Next guy.
Keep going, Trent.
Yep, keep grinding, man. Next guy we got is Enes Kanter, who had 21 points, 13 rebounds, 9 for 11 from the field. He had 7 offensive rebounds for the second game in a row, was an absolute monster on the offensive glass. He's better than Andre Drummond, man. I was having this debate on Twitter about who's better, Drummond or Kanter, and people were saying Drummond was the better rebounder. Didn't look like it tonight. Drummond to me is a Hassan Whiteside rebounder. Dude just chases everything that's uncontested and makes sure he gets it instead of his teammates, whereas Kanter doesn't care to really pad his rebounding stats like that, right? And then you look at this when he was against Drummond, got a couple offensive rebounds, and honestly, on a per minute basis, Kanter's getting 16 rebounds per 36 minutes. And that's a stat that, like, if he was playing 36 minutes a game, he'd probably be getting 16 rebounds. That's a stat that doesn't really decline due to playing time or anything. Meanwhile, you got Andre Drummond, who is getting, you could use a rebounding percentage for this. He's getting 17 rebounds per 36 minutes. They're pretty equal in that regard. Drummond can't finish, though. And we saw it to start this game. Drummond cannot finish. Like, he's shooting, I think, like, Reese probably has the stat, but he's shooting 47% from the field as a center that doesn't shoot jumpers. That's terrible. Let me see from 0 to 3 feet, because I know it was bad. Let's see. Adjusted shooting? No, just shooting. He's shooting 55% from 0 to 3 feet. Now, he was much better than that the previous years, so this might be an aberration, but, like, it's so much nicer to have a guy who can finish in there. You know what I mean? And Drummond can't finish in there. Drummond's overrated defensively. I don't think he's much better than Kanter. Kanter is I think, honestly, probably a better rebounder. He just doesn't chase rebounds as much. A lot of he's a better offensive rebounder, I think. And then, he's a much better finisher. I think he's better. And he had a great game tonight. We'll talk about his game. It was just interesting. That was a debate I got in. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, Kanter's, especially offensive rebounding, like you said, he's one of the elite offensive rebounders in the league. But I think this game in particular, it might have been a little skewed because Drummond is one of the more perfect matchups for Kanter because he's not going to, like, pick and pop. He's not going to do he's not going to be a good passer. So, like, Kanter can just kind of body him and stuff, and as long as he boxes him out, he'd be fine. We had some stretches where we were not fine on the defensive rebounding side of things, but those were mostly when Kanter wasn't in the game. Kanter's been, man, this guy has been great. He's starting to question, I got a few of these questions on Twitter during the game, whether he should remain the starting center moving forward or not.
For Kanter versus Nurkic?
Yeah, at least one of Nurkic.
No, Nurkic should be because Nurkic provides things we need in the starting lineup. Nurkic is Kanter's playing well, but Nurkic is the better player. Like, yeah. It's not like Kanter, like, improved anything, like, all that much. Like, he's always been what he is right now. So it's like, why now would you say he should remain the starting center? You know what I mean? Like, he still is what he is, and Nurkic is what he is. Like, anybody that's saying that now, I'm questioning it, because it's like Kanter's doing the things he's always been able to do. Like, this is why Enes Kanter is one of the best backup bigs in the league, in my opinion. He should not remain the starting center at all.
I did mention this towards the beginning of the year. We were trying to figure out how to split up Melo and Kanter, and that would be a way to do it, and maybe feature Nurk a little bit more in the second unit.
Don't bench Nurkic
it's not necessarily a benching. You just
you don't bring him off the bench because of Carmelo Anthony. No,
I'm not saying strictly because of Melo. I'm just saying maybe you could get his confidence going and maybe work him back into being a little better.
He was playing, but he was
helps our upside, but
he was playing better before his injury.
Yeah,
he was. Well, I mean, let me go to the game log for Nurkic. Why am I blanking on Basketball Reference? Here we go. I mean, the game he got hurt, he hadn't really done much. He only played 20 minutes. The game before that, he played 30 minutes, had 18 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals.
Yeah.
In a win against Sacramento. Phenomenal game in 30 minutes. And he shot 75% from the field. 6 for 9 from free throws. The game before that, he only played 8 minutes. I don't remember why. That was against Toronto. I think he got hurt or something. I don't really remember. But the game before that, he was a plus 25, had 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block, was 4 for 8 from the field. The game before that, he had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal on 8 for 10 shooting. Like, he was having decent and good performances before he got hurt, right? Like, he struggled there for a bit, but he stayed in the starting lineup and started to figure things out, and then he got hurt. You don't, in my opinion, bring him off the bench when he comes back and mess with his psyche. He was starting to get a rhythm as a starter, and it was starting to work.
But that might not necessarily translate immediately back to when he comes back.
Yeah, it's just like, here's the thing. It's like when players are out, people forget what they can be and can do. And if somebody plays really well in that player's absence, even though they're an inferior player, you have all these people that always want to come out here and say, well, this player is now better because it's a recency bias. This player is now better. He should be the starter. Kanter should now be the starter, right? It's like, it's recency bias.
To be clear, I'm not saying that Nurk should never be regain his spot.
Would you start Kanter when Nurkic is healthy again?
Honestly, for me right now, it depends on like how Nurk is looking in practice. So, like, if he's going to take a while to get back into shape again or something, what shouldn't be the case with this injury. He should be in really good physical shape, at least running wise. So if he's fine and he's looking like he can handle it, I have no problem with inserting him back into the starting lineup. But if he's going to take a couple weeks to get back into shape or playing style again or something, then maybe just ease him back into it and not necessarily.
But you can run him out there for shorter spurts if you start him, though. That would be my argument to that.
That's also true, yeah.
Because you could start him and then sub him back in with the bench. Sub him out early, sub him back in with the bench lineup, sub him out, and then sub him back in at the end of halves, right? So we could run 3 spurts. It's hard to do that when you're bringing a guy off the bench because it's a more condensed time frame. So, yep. I just don't want to mess with his psyche. Like he's used to being a starter, and it's not something where like he's less talented than Kanter. If Kanter was, in my opinion, if Kanter was more talented, you start Kanter, right? Mm-hmm. And Nurkic is going to have to figure it out. But Nurkic is the more talented player, in my opinion. And this team is going to go the furthest with use of Nurkic as the starting center, and Kanter playing like this off the bench. Mm-hmm. And in games where Nurkic gets in the foul trouble, Kanter can play 28 minutes and have a huge impact, right? That's how this team is going to be at its peak, in my opinion. So you bring Nurkic back and you start him. I feel like some people are getting a little too like cute when the team starts playing well, when they have guys out to injury, the opinions just start going wild on just every direction about every player, and it's just I don't know. It's too much, and it's too like overreactionary based on a couple of games, and it's too much recency bias.
The only thing I'll say to the psyche thing is it's just as likely we're playing well, and then Nurk comes back, and then he struggles or something a few games, and then we start to question if Cantor's a better fit or whatever. Whereas if you bring him off the bench in the beginning, he could be more mad that, no, I'm going to earn my starting spot back or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I see both sides of it.
You just don't play games like that.
Yeah.
You don't like, oh, well, Nurkic might, not play well if we start him, so we got to piss him off, bring him off the bench.
I'm not saying like you're telling him, oh, you're coming off the bench or whatever. It's more just like, hey, let's work you in slowly back into game shape, and that's completely different than you've lost your starting job to Enes Kanter. You're coming off the bench now because you suck.
He'll be fine to play at least 20 minutes a game once he's back, in my opinion. Because he should be able to run, and it's a wrist injury. It's not like Rodney Hood coming back from an Achilles injury after not playing for a year, right? It's Nurkic coming back after 6 to 8 weeks after wrist injury. So in my opinion, like, you can play him 20 minutes a game, still start him.
I will say, if he isn't in game shape when he does come back, if he was fully able to run, then that might be a reason to not just give him his starting job back if he's not working as hard. But I mean, faith in Nurk that when he's motivated, that he will be in shape.
He'll probably be in between, right? It's not white and black, like he's going to be in game shape or not in game shape. He'll probably be, not quite peak performance, but, it's not going to be somewhere like, oh, he's not ready, So it's probably going to be, somewhere in that gray area. I just think you start him and you get him all the way to game shape and have him as a starter, because that's how this team is going to be the best, in my opinion. Interesting debate, though. Let me know in chat if okay, say Nurkic or Kanter. Once Nurkic is healthy, who would you start? Assuming Nurkic is kind of in game shape, who would you start? Let me know in chat.
Blockboy is saying that, we went to the Western Conference Finals with Kanter for a reason. His play style fits. So that was pretty mellow. So let me just tell you, Nurk was absolutely dominant before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And this guy had clearly surpassed CJ as our second best player and definitely our second most important player. So it wasn't necessarily a case of Kanter fits better and it just worked out because Nurk got hurt. That really ruined a chance for that season to be even more special than it was when Nurkic went down, because he was playing amazingly, and he is a great fit with Dame when he is playing well.
Yep. It's 10-4 for Nurkic, but you got some split opinions on it. Somebody asked, is this a real question? Yeah, it's been the debate that we've been discussing. But Kanter had a really good game today, there's honestly, we can't even, this is the longest we ever talk about Kanter. It's like hard to talk about him for a while, because it's like, man, he finished off the pick and roll. Dame found him with some good passes. He got some offensive rebounds, like he always does. Great offensive rebounder, and he finished them. Efficient night. And played okay defense in this one. I feel like that's like every game. That's, it's the same thing. He just did it at he does all those things if he has 10 points. If he has 20 points, usually he's just doing all those things a little bit more, or Dame's finding him on more passes, or he's just getting more, a couple more offensive rebounds. He's still doing it in the same exact way. It's just how he is, and he plays to his strengths really well. And
let me just say, props to Neil Olshey. This man traded Mario Hezonja and got Enes Kanter, and that was a great move. We're lucky we have Kanter right now when Nurk went down, and this guy is going to really be a key for us this season, just solidifying that bench when Nurk comes back if he's playing well, or, as a starter in the meantime. You can't really ask for much more out of your backup center at this point.
Yeah. To me, it doesn't even... Like, we technically did, but to me, it doesn't even feel like we got him necessarily from Mario Hezonja. Boston didn't want him. But what's funny is on the draft stream a couple days before free agency, we were like, Kanter could be a backup center option, bringing him back using the trade player exception. We were able to take on his contract because we had a $7 million traded player exception that he fit into, so we didn't have to send out salary back. We just included Hezonja, which was a win, just to get out from underneath... that $1.7 million contract that we didn't want, and we didn't want on the books. So that was a win in itself. Boston didn't want him, which is crazy to me, man. I mean, you got Robert Williams there. Daniel Tice has been playing well this year. They wanted Tristan Thompson more, and Tristan Thompson hasn't been that good there. Yeah, so really, really good move from Olshey to use that. We were worried he wasn't going to use the trade player exception. We were saying he really needs to, and we could have a really deep team if he utilizes this well, and he utilized it well and got Canner. So nice to have him back.
You weren't exactly happy with it. I thought it was solid. I would have rather had Cantor and the 30th pick. That would have been nice. But
well, it's like for the return on the asset, I wasn't like thrilled. I was like. I was happy that we used the asset, right? Because I was worried we wouldn't use it. But, like, if you told me, yeah, they're going to use the trade player exception, it was going to be like, okay, well, we're probably going to get at least a Canner level player. So that's why I wasn't thrilled. I was high on Bielitsa, who Sacramento has kind of ruined this year, in my opinion. But I was high on Bielitsa and, some other guys that are similar level to Canner. Now, if you told me Nurkic was going to get hurt, I'd be like, yeah, well, I would have been more happy with it because it's we needed a guy that could step in and replace Nurkic's production somewhat. So now it's even more, But like early before Nurkic was hurt, it was like Carmelo and Cantor can't coexist on the floor at the same time. So I still wasn't high on it until Cantor has stepped up into the starting lineup. And honestly, like when Cantor and Melo has been on the floor lately, it hasn't been anywhere near as bad because a lot of the little mistakes that like guys like Cantor and Melo and other players on the court were making were glaring on the bench when we had a healthy team. And now the mistakes when those two are on the floor aren't as glaring, aren't as impactful, and aren't as, there's not as many mistakes from those guys, in my opinion. Do you agree on that? What do you think?
Yeah, they've been playing, when they play together, it's with, like, Dame and, like, Trent and usually, like, Rocco or DJ or whatever. But, like, so, like, I feel like they're playing with the starters versus playing with, Simons when he was not quite as good earlier in the season and stuff like that. So
they were playing with Trent. It's crazy to remember that Trent came off the bench, man. Like I'm used to him as a starter now. Like our bench, bro. Like Melo, if he's playing well, and Cantor and Trent and Rodney Hood, if he's he's been kind of inconsistent, and then Anthony's been playing like that's such a good bench. That bench should have been much better to start the season, but hopefully
Absolutely.
this hopefully they're playing up to their potential once we're healthy.
I gotta call out my man Block Boy here, dude. Come on, don't disgrace yourself, man. He actually had the nerve to say. How much time do we spend on Melo in these programs?
A ton.
Yeah, he actually had the nerve to say, we're talking about Cantor and Trent this long. Watch him just brush right by Melo and barely say anything.
He also
we talk
said
about Melo like half of every freaking postgame show. Like, don't give me.
We
that,
talk about
man.
him as much as
Come
anybody,
on.
so
You're
that's
better than
ridiculous. And then he says, "I wouldn't be surprised if he does Dame before Melo." Well, guess who's
yeah.
after N is Cantor? It's Carmelo Anthony, bro. Look who's after Carmelo. It's Dame, right? So come on now, my guy. Jeez, man. See, he just wants to complain about us, man. Bro, Block Boy is unfair. 100% unfair, man. He's been just the past like 3 streams. Yesterday it was, I saw you say he was 1 for 5 from 2-point land. You didn't say anything about anything else. I'm like, I quoted that tweet and said he was 4 for 4 from 3-point land, man. So, yeah, Block Boy, you're tripping. Caught in 4K. We're going to talk about Melo however long we want on this one. We talk about Melo all the time. 23 points, 2 rebounds, 7 for 30 from the field, 3 for 7 from the 3-point line. He had it going inside the arc, which was nice to see because, he's going to continue to shoot some of those fadeaways and whatnot. It's nice when they go in. 3 for 7 from 3. He's on a hot streak, right? He's been shooting the ball well. He shot the ball well last night. He shot the ball well the past 5 games. Stretched it into this game as well with his 23-point effort. He's playing good basketball right now. His defense has been better than it was earlier this season, and his offense is kind of he had a very big slump there, right? And he's just going to be this player that it seems like he's going to be this guy where he's going to have hot streaks, over multiple games, and then he's going to have cold streaks over multiple games where he hurts the team, and then he's going to have hot streaks where he helps the team and can carry a team to a win, like he did last night, and then he's going to have cold streaks where he isn't making a positive impact. Like, that's who he is. I just hope the hot streaks are as plentiful as the cold streaks, right? Because if he's on if he's having more games like this, he's helping the team. If he's having more games like he did when he was having that cold stretch, where he shoot like 2 for 10 on some nights and whatnot, then he's hurting the team. So it just comes down to, we need this Carmelo Anthony. This is good Melo. Melo making shots, and it's Melo shooting more than half of his field goal attempts are 3-point shots. I want to see that. And then we didn't really ISO him much in the. We ISO'd him a few times, but he used a pump fake to get to the free throw line. You said he should use more of that. I agree. Another time he had. I think Colin Sexton or Darius Garland on him. That's a mismatch. I would throw it into Melo in the post if he has one of those guys on him, because it's a mismatch. And it's a good enough mismatch where you try and exploit it. I don't necessarily know how I feel about Melo fading away from 15 on a guy who's like 6'2 and 190 pounds. But he made the shot on the play I'm thinking about. So, I like that. Overall.
He had a couple plays, too, where he curled into the middle of the key. Mm-hmm. And kind of pump faked and drew some fouls, like we were saying, and drew a foul on a 3-point shot too, which was nice. I like the way he played in it.
Yeah, Blockboy says, same mid-range shot, shoot or shoot, they go in or they don't, it's basketball. Yeah, but when they don't go in, that's not a good thing. When they do go in, that is a good thing. It's good versus bad, and we need, and that's efficiency. It comes down to efficiency. If he's making a high enough percentage of his shots, it's a good thing. If he's making a low percentage of his shots, it's a bad thing.
Mom, we're just having some fun with Black Boy. It's not serious. We're not beefing or anything.
Your mom
she's telling me to calm down.
Yeah, no, it's Block Boy. It is the Block Boy. Shout out Nintendo $2 Dono. He says if Marshmello wants a ring, he'll play defense. He's been playing better defensively, and it's not even like where he's like having really good possessions or anything. It's where he's not making as many mistakes. Because he early in the season and last year especially, he was overhelping like crazy and just completely out of position all the time. And he still has instances here and there, but the past few games, the past like 6-7 games, while he's been better offensively, he's also been better defensively because he's not. He has better positioning and just the little things that I attributed to the whole team improving. It applies to Melo.
Yep, another good game. I mean, it's starting to become a broken record, right? It was that 5 out of the last 6 games he's played really well. Can't really complain or say anything really bad about Melo lately. He's absolutely been bringing it, and we've needed him to step up, and he's doing that. It'll probably not get quite as many shots once the guys come back, but I don't mind on nights when he's cooking, like to get him some touches. It's fine, especially if the bench is struggling. He's one of the few guys who can create offense in that unit. So let him get some touches. But yeah, overall, I'd like to save those kind of possessions for. Either he's on fire and we're just giving him shots until he misses, or only resorting to those when the initial offense breaks down. But yeah, it's hard to find a lot of faults with the way Melo's been playing.
Yep. Blockboy said, here's what I'll say. When they're not going in, then simmer down. Okay, well, here's what I'll say. When they are going in, you simmer down. How about that? Shout out Nintendo, another $2. He says, do we have Denver Melo? I mean, when he has games like tonight, I mean, it's vintage Carmelo when he's making shots. I mean, he still kind of tries to play the same style. So, I don't know.
I mean, Melo averaged like 31 in Denver, I think. So
yeah, his peak was
at a time where the offense wasn't quite as. It wasn't quite as easy to score 30 points.
His peak was 28.9 points per game when he was 22 years old. But yeah, I mean, going into this game was shooting 39% from the 3-point line. So that's the thing. It's like, so far this season at this point, his hot 3-point shooting has outweighed his cold 3-point shooting because he's shooting 39%. Before this 5-6 game hot streak, he was down around 34, I think a little bit under 34%, right? At that point, I would say his cold shooting was outweighing the hot shooting. There's a little bit more of the cold shooting. Like, I don't know. It's over the course of an 82 game season, you want guys on average to be efficient because you want guys to make shots. I don't know how to explain it. Like, at this point, he's shooting the ball well in the season from 3. From 2, he's still 39%. I wish he could shoot like 50% from 2 on his shot selection, because then he would be overall extremely efficient. But he takes 7 shots a game from 2-point land, 4.3 shots per game from 3, right? And he's inefficient from 2. But so far this season, he's been efficient from 3. So that's why I want to see a heavier diet of 3-point shots, potentially. And then if there's a way he can get higher percentage shots inside the arc, or say if he's going to continue to shoot 39%, if him attacking inside the arc can help him get to the free throw line more, then that'll help his efficiency, just because he'll be getting to the free throw line where he's been phenomenal. So that's kind of the thing with Melo is if he's not scoring efficiently, he's not really helping the team. If he's scoring efficiently and having nights like he did last night, he can be a huge lift. So it just comes down to if he's making shots or not.
According to
the positions.
According to Bluffway, they're 7-2 when he shoots 14 plus times. So why don't we just let him shoot every time down the court then?
See, that's a stat without any context. The games where he's shooting 14 or more times is probably because he's shooting the ball well. So yeah, when he shoots the ball well, he helps the team. That's exactly my point. Thanks for helping me prove my point. Did we talk about Melo enough, Block Boy? Are you satisfied? Or are you disappointed? I don't care. Let's move on to talk about Dame.
Can I just mention 2 things real quick? So I just want to say hi to Eddie. He says, "What's up, guys? Big fan." Thanks for actually typing in chat instead of being a lurker. It's always good to hear from
We got a lot of people that watch us that don't comment. And it'd be cool to hear from you guys. If you're one of those people out there that never comments, but watches our stuff, it'd be cool to just see you say hi. I don't know. I know, we got, let me see. How many participants do we have in chat right now? We have about 25, 30 participants. We got 140 people watching. So, yeah, if you're, it's just cool to see people say hi. What's up, Derek? What was the other thing you were going to touch on, Eric?
And then I'm probably going to butcher his name, but Satvik said earlier that he was going to go to the game on Sunday, which is interesting because it's in Dallas, which allows some fans. So,
yeah.
Hopefully you are a Blazer fan and you drown out the minimal amount of fans there, and we can hear you cheering during the broadcast. That'd be cool.
Eric, they need Chris Craig needs to fly down to Texas for us. Nice. Moving on and talking about Dame. 20 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. 7 for 16 from the field. He was 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. He was 7 for 10 from 2. His shot has been struggling a little bit. He missed a lot of shots short tonight on a second night of a back-to-back, but he didn't have a great shooting night last night. So his 3-point shot is not really falling in right now. He's in a little bit of a slump. When guys are missing short like that, especially somebody like Dame who has to do so much offensively, it's like it just seems like his legs aren't really in it. It's you just have to wonder if like it's just him being a little bit worn down, so to say. And was kind of banged up a few games ago, so I don't know. That would be my guess as to why he's missing a lot of shots short right now. Normally it's a legs problem when you're missing shots short. But otherwise, he played a good floor general game today. He had a couple silly turnovers. Finished the night with 4 turnovers. That pass straight to Andre Drummond. So, had a couple of instances where he turned over the ball, but overall 9 assists. You'll take that. He distributed pretty well tonight. Slashed well. Knocked down all 6 of his free throws. 7 for 10 from 2. Just didn't have the 3-point shot falling, but that's the only complaint. He only had to play 30 minutes tonight. That's a dub. That's a good thing. He didn't have to take over. Here's the thing. If he had to take over this game, he might have finished, with 36 points on, 13 for 22 shooting and 4 for 10 from 3. And you're saying, oh, what an amazing game from Dame. But he didn't. So he didn't. He had a decent game. If other people stepped up, only had to play 30 minutes, got him a little bit more rest. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I almost like on a night like tonight where we're cruising, I almost don't want him to shoot much. Just keep your like you don't have to take a long three. Like I understand like a lot of times he does, and there's games we need it, but I'd love to see him just get like 15 assists some game and not really worry about shooting or scoring at all. And just now that everyone's shooting great around him, just keep feeding him the ball. You don't have to score. I hate the people who are like, oh, we're winning, but Dame has to do better. Like we can't let Dame have a bad game. Like he needs to get his shooting percentage up. Like who cares? We won by 19.
Those are all the people that are so worried about the Steph versus Dame debate that a bunch of 16-year-olds have on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Jabo.
Yeah. My goodness. Overall, happy with this. PS3 Nintendo, another $5 dono. He says,
yeah,
Luka,
shots at Bivin. That's correct.
Luka told Stephen A. he's been playing like crap. We got this next game. Well, Luka enjoys playing our defense and the way we run our defense. So he's a guy who likes playing against drop scheme. And it's not because he's like good at shooting from threes. You just give him space. He eats up that space and makes the most out of it. So yeah, we'll wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if Luka goes off against us, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Well, hopefully he doesn't. Luka's been. Is he still sub 30 from three? He's shooting 31% from three this year.
Yeah, big game tonight. But...
He's not better than Dame, man. Dame is a much better scorer, right? Luka gets 28 points per game, so similar to Dame, but he's more inefficient, right? If Dame was shooting as many times as Luka was, Dame would be scoring 35 a game. Luka's true shooting percentage, it's not like he's inefficient. It's 57%, but it's bolstered in due in part to the fact that he gets the free throw line over 8 times a game. He's learning those Harden tricks. I mean, Lillard gets there a bunch too, but Lillard is more efficient and a close enough playmaker where I'd still take Dame over Luka at this point. I know that's a debate that a lot of people like to have. But yeah, Luka, it's funny how he thinks he's been playing like crap, and he's averaging 28, 9, and 9.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. But he has high standards for himself. He's a great player. We'll preview that game later tonight. Before we wrap up the stream, we do gotta get things rolling along here though. So you want to move on to Ants?
Yep.
Let's move on to Ants. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 4 for 10 from the field. 9 of those 10 shots were threes. He was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Good game from Ant. Getting this level of 3-point shooting on some of the 3-point shots he takes is good because he takes some tough 3-point shots. Have you noticed that this year? Like last year, he only took like pretty much open catch and shoot shots, or if he was open off the dribble. This year, there can be a guy in his face. He doesn't care. He's pulling, and he's been knocking down some contested threes, right? It's funny how last year he shoots 33% from 3, and then this year, his 3-point shot selection it's harder. It's harder shots. It's more difficult shots, and he's shooting 39% going into this game, 39.4%. So he might be above 40 after this. It's impressive. His shooting has really taken a step up. Now, he 5 out of his 7 shots each game are threes. He's pretty much only a 3-point shooter right now, and I think a lot of his potential comes with what he could potentially do off the dribble. So that's kind of the next step of his game. But for a 21-year-old, that has to play like you want him playing to his strengths, and he's been doing that, knocking down threes, being competitive defensively. And he's been solid, There's obviously things you can criticize and things that might be lacking, but overall, he's making an impact. He's not hurting the team. He's having a positive impact on some nights. That's pretty much all you could ask for.
I thought he actually had some really nice defensive plays. He had one in particular where Sexton tried to post him up, and he knocked the ball away from him and held his ground. Whereas last year, he would have just gotten abused in that situation.
Definitely a lot stronger.
Yeah. So I also liked the play he got fouled on, where he actually cut and was standing around the rim, and I forgot if it was Cantor or someone else found him with a nice pass, and that would have been a highlight play if he finished it. But with his leaping ability, it's kind of like Derrick Jones, where you want him kind of rim running and being around the rim, maybe catch a lob occasionally. and get some dunks to hype up this team and get some momentum going.
Yeah, and I still like his. I still think he could be a ball handler in transition attacking the rim. I feel like that might be, something that we need to try and do more when he's in the game is get out on the break because he can fill the lanes from three as a cutter, in open space. He has athleticism. He could dunk on people. Or as a ball handler, he's quick and good enough with the ball to push and transition. So that would be something that I would like to see more of.
Another thing with that dunk too is I believe that was Drummond's third foul, so it took him out of the game, and that might have been important in this game. But if Derrick Jones Jr. and Ant get to the rim and get fouls on players and cause those, and then you have Cantor getting offensive rebounds, he draws a lot of fouls on those type of plays as well. It would be nice if we got some of the opposing bigs into foul trouble because they're trying to contest dunks, but our guys are so athletic they can still extend over them and get a foul instead of a block.
Well, if Dame or CJ is in that position that Anthony was on that play, they're probably not even trying to shoot the ball because Andre Drummond is right there. Right. You got a 6'3" scoring guard. Okay, most 6'3" scoring guards can't take 2 steps with no momentum and rise up basically from a standstill and dunk the ball. Right? That's just Anthony's athleticism making the difference there. I don't think Dame would be able to get the ball over the rim in the position, stand still, basically flat-footed, jumping up like that. I don't think CJ could either. But Anthony's just a freak athlete like that. Mm-hmm. So, moving on. 2 more players to talk about were, there were the other guys that played, but just didn't get around to Giles and a lot of guys that didn't really have a huge impact to Rodney Hood. We're just going to talk about DJ and Rocco here. Derrick Jones Jr. didn't do pretty much anything offensively tonight. 5 points, 1 for 2 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. Knocked down 3 of his 4 free throws, but I mean, he was part of the reason we defended well tonight. He played good defense. And honestly, this is probably going to be the same breakdown for Rocco and Derrick Jones Jr. So I might as well just show the Rocco slide as well. He had 3 points, 4 rebounds, 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. He didn't shoot a shot from 2. So Derrick Jones Jr. played 19 minutes. Robert Covington played 22. They barely shot the ball, right? But both those guys had an extremely positive impact on this game. Both led in plus minus, and part of it was we get off to this hot start in the first quarter, where the Cavs only had 8 points with 6 minutes left in the quarter or something like that. And it was due in part to, let's just talk about them both. Robert Covington, I think, played phenomenal defense tonight. Phenomenal defense. A lot of little things, a lot of stuff that people might not have noticed. He didn't have a steal or a block. But in terms of his positioning, in terms of his help side, rotations, in terms of him rotating out to the 3-point line, contesting shots, just every little thing in the book, I think Rocco was phenomenal tonight. Absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of we talked about this earlier in the season with Dame exerting so much energy on offense, trying to create a shot or basically having to be our entire offensive set himself every possession. So I like kind of leaving these guys energy for the defensive end. We're not really doing a lot to get them open. I mean, occasionally getting them going, I think, would be a good idea. But on a night like tonight, where you have Trent, Mello, Cantor all shooting great from the field, you don't need these guys to score. Just play your role on defense and get it to the hot guys. And they're certainly not trying to come in and take shots, or they don't need shots. I'm sure Rocco and Derrick Jones are both happy with the win tonight versus, I only scored 3 points or 5 points. And you need guys like that do that. Eventually, we will need them to hit shots when our other guys are struggling. But as long as our other guys have it cooking, you might as well just keep going to them and save your defensive guys for the defensive end.
Yep, do not underrate what these two guys, Rocco and Derrick Jones Jr., can do on the defensive end. They have stepped up and played really good defense together, and that's why both of them are starting. That's why both of them are starting forwards. When we get CJ back, Gary Trent Jr. goes back to the bench. We need that scoring off the bench. You keep Derrick. Some people might say start Trent at the 3 or something. Nah, you keep these two defensive gems in the starting lineup because this team, its ceiling is being a good two-way team. A good defensive team and a phenomenal offensive team. The only way that happens if you have two defenders like this is your starting forwards that can guard multiple positions and play defense off the ball and do the things that these two guys can do. So, yeah, the stat line isn't impressive. I feel like a lot of nights we say, with both these guys, the stat line doesn't look impressive, but they had a good game and they made a big impact on this game.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we're still without CJ and Nurk, and we're talking about all these players. So our personnel is fine, and when we get everyone back, we have so many unique things that we haven't been able to do in years past that we can do with this roster. And that's another reason why we want them to build upon these things instead of just be happy that they're winning games.
Yeah. Let's transition now from individual players to what were you going to say?
I was going to say, do you want to mention this Nurk versus Aaron Fentress thing that's going on?
No, what happened?
So earlier today, Fentress, there was a rumor that Atlanta was looking to shop John Collins, which has been a rumor for about a year now. And Aaron Fentress put a post saying that we should trade, I think it was Nurkic and Trent.
That's terrible.
Collins. And then he had this huge fight with Rip City Project about who was better between Nurkic and John Collins, and he said John Collins is better, which is debatable, I guess. But Mario Hazonia tagged Nurkic, and so Nurkic saw it, and then here, I'll just read it to you real quick. He said he gave the Dame face video from when Dame called out Fentress earlier in the year. And because Fentress said, you guys all fall in love with your players, no vision. Collins is, good, and Portland is deep at guard. 2 guards next year will be making $73 million, but sure, pay a third guard a lot of money. Nurkic is good, but not as good as Collins. So that was his reasoning. And then Nurkic gave the Dame face. And then later on, he said, I know drugs are legal in Oregon, but you got to stop smoking, my guy. LOL.
Bro, okay. Let me just say this. Why, this dude is, okay, the thing he said the other day, the completely unprofessional thing he said on Twitter the other day, I'm sure some of you know about, some of you don't, but that combined with some of his takes, it's like, why is he in the position he is? And you know what I mean? Like, just acts like a complete ass, unprofessional, like, he's done that to me and he's done that to other people, and then his takes are just like he's not even a basketball guy. He's like more of a college football guy, and you can tell he's not a basketball guy with some of his takes, man. He just sounds like a typical Twitter guy that's been put in a position of being a journalist, right? Like, he can write well, that's why he has his job, right? He can write well, he can kind of talk well. That's why he has his job. But that's what I've always said about media. It's not because their takes are good. It's not because they know anything, about the game that you or I don't know, or that the community doesn't know. It's because they It's because they write well and because they talk well.
Oh, so Mario Hazonia quote tweeted his thing back at him. The man go to hell, little child.
Mario quote tweeted. Dude, he quote tweeted GK's tweet.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He quote tweeted GK's tweet. Shout out to GK. Yeah, so anyway.
And then also someone asked him, okay, so you make that trade, then what do you do at center moving forward? And he said, use our trade space.
What?
I don't know. He said to use our trade space. I don't even know what that means.
Did he delete it? I gotta reply to that. Anyway, good old Twitter. If you guys don't follow us, our tags are in our name tag below. Tori Jones Wet for me, Hoopstock for Eric. Twitter's always a good time, man. Always.
It's just another media member that has no idea how trades work, or like
use our trade space. I'm trying to find this tweet, man.
I mean, I'm assuming he meant some sort of trade exception, but I guarantee you he doesn't even know how trade exceptions work,
and we don't even have
one right now. But yeah.
Yikes. Good old Fentress, man. Good old Fentress.
He said, go out and get another center. And then Rift City Project said, with wet cap space. And he said, use our trade space. It's funny.
Anyway, this is your one-stop shop for people that know what the hell they're talking about. Let's talk about the NBA. Let's go around the NBA.
Between Rift City Project and between Fentress and Block Boy, Rift City Project's just like busy 100% of the time just arguing with us.
Bro, okay, so me and the guy who runs Rift City Project had like beef in the past. We have completely squashed it. And now we are fighting the same wars. All right?
Kind of funny.
The enemy of my enemy became my friend. Oh man, the community. It's amazing to watch, bro. It's amazing to watch. Anyway, make sure you guys follow us for sure. Help Eric get to 1,000. He deserves it. His tweets are... What would you call your tweets, Eric? What adjective would you use?
Bangers.
Bangers? Okay. I can roll with that. So around the NBA, you had the Hornets. I was going to say fire, but bangers work. Bangers works too. Well, right. So Eric is, a little bit older than, a lot of the 16-year-olds on Twitter, right? He's just slightly older than those 16-year-olds that make up a lot of NBA Twitter. But you're not as boomer as Beavis, so yeah. Is Beavis in here? The song, okay, that Fred Meyer commercial. Everybody's hating on that Fred Meyer commercial. I still kind of like it. I mean, it's overplayed at this point, but I still kind of like it. That song is not by Nelly Beavis. That was Boomer Beavis. That song is not by Nelly. It's by Flo Rida. I would know. I was in middle school when it came out. I remember when it came out. Beavis. And Eric corrected him on it. So Eric is out here looking like he knows what's up, and Beavis is out here looking like a boomer. So that's an L, Beavis. I don't even think Beavis is in here anymore, so that's an L as well. But let's talk about NBA scores today. You had a lot of action, so I'll go through this quickly. I'm not going to read off multiple guys, just who ESPN has the top performers as. The Hornets beat the Timberwolves. They moved to 13-14. They're now tied for 6th in the East. They beat the Timberwolves 120-114. Terry Rozier had 41 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists for the Hornets. Huge game from Scary Terry. Malik Beasley had 31 points and 5 rebounds. I don't think his jail sentence takes place until after the season because that's something that broke. He has had some legal trouble.
It's not even like a jail sentence. I think it's like a work
release or something. Yeah. The NBA didn't suspend him, did they?
Not yet. That's weird.
They gonna suspend him? Like, are we gonna hold players accountable, man? If only the jail Blazers could have played during this era, man. You had the Knicks beating the Wizards 109-91. Knicks moved to 12-15. Wizards are now 6-17. Russell Westbrook in the loss had almost a triple-double, 23 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, but I don't know. His production isn't helping them win. It's not helping them win. Julius Randle had 24 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists. He's been really, really good for the Knicks this year. The Spurs beat the Hawks. The Spurs moved to 15-11. They've overachieved this year, right? Everybody talking about, man, Greg Popovich, now he missed the playoffs last year. Are you going to call him a trash coach now? I mean, this team is not a playoff caliber team, but they're playing like it. Okay, hold up. They won 125-114 over the Hawks, and I'm looking at this box score. They won
40.
They won 125-114, and they got outscored in the fourth quarter, 15-42. So they were up 110. Let's see if my quick math works. 110-72.
Yep.
Absolutely blowing them out.
Yep.
DeMar DeRozan had 23.6 rebounds, 8 assists. Trae Young had 25 points for the Hawks in their loss. The Hawks fall to 11-14.
And Aldridge hasn't played the last 2 games either. So
yeah. Yeah, so the Spurs are an interesting team to watch to see if they can shake up the playoffs. You know, nobody had them pegged as a playoff team heading into this year, but they're playing like one right now. The Mavericks beat the Pelicans 143 to 130. They moved to 13 and 14 on the season, almost back to 500. The Pelicans fall to 11-14. It was Luka versus Zion. Zion. I always say it's Zion. I got to stop doing that. That's just a bad habit. It's not quite as bad as and a new boy, but Luka had 46 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds. Zion had... Is it Zion? It's Zion, right? Or is it Zion? Oh, so I have been saying it right. All right, Zion. Yeah, why am I tripping over this right now? What am I talking about? Mr. Williamson had 36 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds for the Pels.
14 of 15.
14 for 15 from the
10
field.
for 10 at half and only got 5 shots in the second.
The thing is he's set up on a lot of his buckets, though, or it's just coming out post.
He wasn't cherry picking in the second half, or what?
Yeah, I don't know, man. So he's like a star caliber player that doesn't. He has a different play style. A lot of his stuff is set up for him. I don't know. It's you look at like Luka, he's just making everything happen, and Zion. I'm not even going to talk about Zion anymore. I'm tired of saying his name. The Clippers beat the Bulls 125 to 106. Kawhi had 33, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Zach LaVine in the loss had 26 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He's been playing very, very well for the Bulls. The Clippers moved to 19 and 8. The Bulls fall to 10 and 15. You have a couple of Western Conference playoff teams. Here with the Spurs being the Hawks and the Clippers being the Bulls, you have some Western Conference playoff teams beating Eastern Conference teams. You hate to see it. Pistons beat the Celtics. Big upset here. 108 to 102. Moved to 7 and 19 on the season. The Celtics fall to 13 and 12. Your guy.
Sure, they would do it tonight.
Your guy. Did you see the stat line your guy put up?
Saddiq Bey was on fire.
Saddiq Bey, 30 points, 12 rebounds. 10 for 12 from the field, 7 for 7 from the three-point line. Wasn't he perfect from the three-point line last game?
I think he was. I think he might have missed one of the...
Or no, it was the game before. But Saddiq Bey's been phenomenal lately, and that was one of Eric's favorite draft prospects this year. A guy we could have gotten if we never traded for Rocco. That was a guy Eric really wanted, and he had a phenomenal game tonight for the Pistons. So the Pistons honestly did decently in this year's draft, other than trading Luke Kennard for garbage. Because Isaiah Stewart last game had 17 and 7. He had a good game for them last game. He only had 5 points in this one. But now you got their other rookie, one of their other rookies, because they got multiple.
Killian Hayes, has been out. I think he's out several weeks with an injury as well. But he wasn't playing too well. Saddiq Bey's not been shooting the ball well this year, up until recently. But yeah, he's been playing better.
Yep. Tatum had 33. Jaylen Brown had 27. Peyton Pritchard got his first NBA start. I know you Duck fans are happy about that, but in 29 minutes, he only scored 2 points on 1 for 5 shooting from the field. So not the best performance in his first NBA start from Peyton Pritchard. At least he's on the court, though. When he went down with that injury earlier this year, it looked serious. So happy it wasn't anything worse. The Nuggets. Okay, we got to talk about this. The Nuggets beat the Thunder 97 to 95. Did you see what happened at the end of the third quarter?
I missed this one, no.
So Jamal Murray shoots a shot falling out of bounds from behind the half-court line, right? And Hamidou Diallo, like while the ball is like headed towards the rim, decides to jump up and like put his hands by the rim. I don't know what he was trying to do, but the ball hits the backboard and it was going to go slightly long, but it was still over the rim, and it hits Hamidou Diallo's hands. And it was goaltending.
Huh? What?
You have to see the clip. Bro, okay. I will post. I retweeted the clip. Let me find it, bro. It was one of the. It might be the Shackton play of the year. All right. I will post the tweet that I found it from. Here you go. It's in the chat. Watch that, Eric. It was something else. Jokic had 22 in the win. Murray had 22 as well. Jokic had 22, 13, and 9.
Did you think it was like...
I don't know what he was thinking.
It's like after the foul?
Yeah. That Shackton play of the year.
Wow, that's bad. It's really bad. Holy moly.
Who shot that? I thought it was Jamal Murray.
Yeah, it was Murray.
Beavis, why are you trying to take so
Beavis
many
is
L's
always
tonight?
trolling. God.
Beavis just trying to take L after L after L. Justin Jackson had 20 off the bench.
Beavis.
Justin Jackson had 20 off the bench for the Thunder. It's hard to even remember who's on their team because they got so many like random players on their team. They had so much roster turnover this past season. But next game. Let's speed this up here.
Trevin says high IQ tank play.
I know, yeah. He's trying to tank for real. If my ESPN scoreboard would load. We're going to get through these. We're going to talk about the standings a little bit. Then we're going to sign off because the stream is going a little long. My scoreboard isn't even loading. Pull it up on my phone. I got my phone. That's what my phone's for.
Utah beat Milwaukee 129 to 115. You had Giannis with 29 and 15 and 6 in the loss. Ingles with 27 points in the win for the Jazz.
Ingles has a couple big games lately.
Gobert also had 27 and 12. Mitchell 26, 6.
They had 4 guys over 25 points with Ingles, Gobert, Mitchell, and Clarkson. Impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you do the rest. Go ahead.
No,
We'll see how you do.
Pretty much it for that game. But yeah,
the rest of the games.
Yeah, Utah's been. They have a lot of tough games coming up, and this is like the stretch where everyone's saying they're going to come back down to earth. But they played really well once again. They're playing good defense and they move the ball well on offense. They're a tough team to beat when they're playing that way.
One of their philosophies is to try and get guys catching the ball with a little bit of momentum towards the hoop so they can like step into a three, or they already have momentum so they're going to be quicker taking that first step. So they're really good at like attacking closeouts. It's like that's one of Quinn Snyder's philosophies, is to try and get guys in positions where they can catch the ball like stepping into the pass. Which sets up the drive and the shot in a good way.
And then we had the Orlando Magic beating the Kings 123 to 112. De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley both did not play in this one, so the Kings were a little shorthanded, but we know that the Magic are also severely shorthanded. But Vucevic, Reese's boy, had 42 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists in this one.
17 for 22 from the field. Very efficient. 6 for 8 from 3.
And no one really on the Kings had a great game. Buddy Hield led them with 19s, but not good overall.
Carter Williams played well for him, 21, 7, and 7, so pretty good performance from his end. And then the last game... the
last game was the Lakers beating the Grizzlies at home, and... we got huge games from both Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Anthony Davis had 35 and 9. LeBron had 28, 9, and 8. And Grayson Allen had 23 for the Grizzlies. Valanciunas and Morant both had 22. But, yeah.
They're still waiting on Jaren Jackson Jr.'s return there.
Yeah.
They started off up 22-2 in this game, I saw, too.
They played good in the first half, and then LA pulled away in the third quarter.
Yep. So that wraps up the
around the NBA.
Around the NBA, the scores from today. Let's see if these standings will be on the screen, because this is the little window I use for Stotts' interview, but I want to see if this works for like ESPN standings. Let me pull it up on my phone to check. It's a little zoomed out. Let me just do a quick control. There we go.
You can cover me if you want.
You're like off my screen to the right though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Here we go. Right there. Let's see if this looks good. We're adjusting on the fly here. I need like maybe a scene or something for this. We'll improve this as time goes on. But you got Utah continuing to lead the West. They are a half game ahead of the Lakers. You got the Clippers in third. We're still in fifth. We're a half game behind Phoenix. It's kind of cool being this close to home court advantage. It would be cool to make ground on the Clippers and actually make I feel like we're not really that close to them at the moment, but a couple wins of ours, a couple losses from the Clippers, and we're right there with them. So, a potential still early in the season, potential top 3 seed isn't necessarily out of the question yet. Would take the Clippers playing worse than they are right now, though. We finally have a positive point differential, by the way. We are now plus 0.1. We've been negative pretty much all season, starting with that 20-point loss on opening night to the Jazz. In 6th place, you got the Spurs. 7th, Nuggets. 8th, Warriors. That's kind of been the top 8 so far, but you got 3 teams tied at 9 that are a game and a half back of playoff positioning. I mean, I guess they're in play-in positioning. You got the Nuggets, Warriors, Mavericks, and Kings in play-in positioning. But Mavericks, Kings, Grizzlies, all teams that have been pretty inconsistent so far this year. Pelicans, Rockets, 11-14. Nothing really new with this standings picture. It's still pretty jumbled, but here's what's funny about it. It's pretty jumbled, but you don't have teams really switching positions all that much. And if you look at teams' record in the last 10, I'll move it over so it's on the screen. Whoops, I did not mean to move you. There we go. Oh, I'm moving you again. Have fun. That's my streaming software. But if you look at right here, this column, this is teams' record in the last 10 games. You got 6-4, 7-3, 6-4, 7-3, 6-4, 6-4, 5-5, 7-3, 5-5, 6-4, 5-5. They're the biggest differential there is 2 games over the last 10 games for every team between 3rd and 14th. None of the team, bro. In the last 10 games, 14 out of the 15 teams in the West have been 500 or better in the last 10 games. That's kind of crazy.
Yep.
So that's what the standings are. Nope, not that display capture. There we go. All right. That is what the standings are looking like right now. The Blazers will try and maybe catch the Suns on Sunday when they play the Mavericks and try and take care of business against Luka Doncic and company. CJ McCollum's reevaluation date is coming up in 4 days. So, maybe we get news that it's only going to be another week after that, hopefully. That's what my fingers are crossed for. Maybe you could see a return last week of February. We're getting pretty close to getting CJ back, and then shortly after that, we'll get Nurkic back. I mean, when is Nurkic's reevaluation date?
I think it's 2 weeks after CJ's.
But Nurkic got hurt earlier, I thought. Oh, no, he had surgery around the same time.
Because they got hurt in back-to-back games. So it
is 2 weeks after CJ's. So Nurkic's reevaluation date is going to be March 2nd or 3rd, in that range. So very start of March, you'll get a reevaluation date on Nurkic. He'll probably be out for a couple weeks after that, whereas CJ might be back a week after his. We'll wait and see, but you're getting close to getting guys back. We're surviving the storm. We're weathering adversity right now, and the Blazers taking care of business tonight is just part of us, hanging on while we wait for guys to come back. And we're seeing improvements with this team. It's good to see. There's other improvements that we hope to see more of, and other steps that this team needs to take in order to truly maximize its potential. So we're going to wrap up the stream. Normally we try and keep under 2 hours. We're at 2 hours almost 9 minutes right now. So we're going to wrap things up. We will catch you guys again on Sunday. Is there anything you want to touch on, Eric? Anything else?
No, I just hope they come out with a good game plan to stop Luka, or at least trying to contain him, and be interested to see if they can build upon this 3-game winning streak.
Beavis says Stas does a Rodney Dangerfield impression in the interview. Wish we had time to watch that on stream, but we're gonna wrap this up. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry that I can't answer some of your questions before we end like we normally do, but we'll be back again Sunday, and you can always tweet at us if you want. Make sure to follow us at Tori Jones YT for me, at Hoopshock for Eric, at Blazers Uprise YT for the channel. We'll get a full highlights reaction out. I forgot that there was a game today, so I didn't get it out for the Philadelphia game. Which full highlights reaction should we do? Should we do the Philadelphia game, even though it was a couple games ago, for channel members, or should we do the Cleveland game? It'll be for channel members only. If you want to become a channel member, hit the join button below. We have some exclusive full highlights reactions coming for channel members only. We'll also drop a couple for everyone, so if you want to go subscribe to that channel that we're uploading those on, it's Blazers Uprise Highlights. The link is in the description. Make sure to follow Blazers Uprise Live as well. We stream Mondays, Thursdays at between 3:30 and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. What are you laughing at?
Westbrook keeps saying to follow me, and then he puts his Twitter handle. So
yeah, follow the mods too. Follow the mods. Thank you to my mods, Westbrook, Trevin, and Reese for the job.
_boy 97 is Westbrook, and Trevin's like Trevin, and then some number or something since he's a robot.
Yeah, Trevin got a lot of numbers in
and
his.
And Reese is at #1 Vucevic fan.
Is he?
No, I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't be surprised. I believed it. So yeah, hit us up on Twitter. Other than that, that's a wrap. I need a checklist of things to plug so I can. I do it smoothly, but it's all just off the top of the head from habit. I need to make a checklist for that. But anyway, yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Glad the Blazers could get a win and cap off a 3-0 homestand. Hopefully they can take care of business on Sunday against the Mavericks. We'll have you covered with that post-game stream going live around 7 since that is an early Sunday tip-off time. That game will tip off at 4:30. So anyway, until then, we hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the snow. If you're driving out in this stuff, drive safe. And as always, peace out. Go Blazers.